that I spoke about last night, the auxiliary covenant. And I talked about why they had the auxiliary covenant. This was this document that the members were to sign, and with their auxiliaries, their clubs, and the houses. Let me read a letter. Hello, good evening, Jamal. Let me read a letter that had been written and sent out by Mr. Bailey of that same year, May the 6th, 2009. Greetings. Peace. I'm not reading. You all know. Da 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 da. Through grace, right? And then peace. Okay. Anyway, this year, beginning with the Memorial Weekend, we will focus on returning to those valuable ways given to us by our founder, Mr. Grace, and his successors, Mr. McCullough and Mr. Madison. There are many that have kept these valuable ways in their everyday lives. Our objectives are to make sure that our children have this knowledge and be found in the teachings of the House of Prayer. So many of the members, he says, his children will not obey and keep the principles of the House of Prayer, nor will they obey what Mr. Grace, Mr. McCullough, and Mr. Madison instructed. It was Mr. Grace who said, quote, every member should be on an auxiliary and be in uniform. Every member should attend Sunday school. We should fast and pray. We should attend the House of Prayer daily. We should be baptized and filled with, the Holy Ghost and fire. Unquote. Many other wonderful things were taught by these men and of God, not prophets. He quoted Jeremiah 6:16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths. Then he says, we don't want to cut God short in anything. We want to draw nigh to him and he will draw nigh to us. And then he says, you don't have to wait until the Memorial Weekend or Convocation 2009 to return. You can start now. Be committed to God and keep his way. Grateful for it all. Says that it's buffering. Is anybody else having a problem with it buffering? We want to make sure that we're not having any issues with connection. Okay. Not here. Okay, good. Thank you. Now, this was a letter that Mr. Bailey had written in May 2009, but I need you all to understand. Thank you. Peace abide. Blanche, grateful for it all, and Jamal. Thank you so much. I need you all to understand, as I was saying last night, these things are ploys. These are tricks. These are gimmicks. This is manipulation. As he said, we will focus on returning to those valuable ways given to us. There are many that have kept these valuable ways, right? They're playing it up. But the problem is what he's talking about are not valuable ways of principles. Anything pertaining to ethics, keep in mind, the valuable ways that he's talking about are these books that's been given to us, and we've been given the impression that these are laws, when you're going to see, if you haven't yet, that these are not laws at all. And tonight in the Supreme Laws, I'm going to show you these are actually orders. With that said, you see where he said so many of the children will not obey and keep the principles of the house of prayer, nor will they obey what he said and all these other bishops said. This is about obedience to the bishops. This is not about the laws. This is not about scripture. This is not about following the word. And look what else he said. It was the founder who said every member should be on an auxiliary. Of course, he said that because, again, this is where you get the mental conditioning. This is where you get the training to start the people giving money, right? As well as giving their subjection to whoever it is that's over them holding a title or position. They're trained and conditioned to respect those persons. He also said, be on an auxiliary, every member to be in uniform. Uniform. I was speaking with someone earlier today, and they told me, you forgot something with those uniforms. Remember, he wanted everybody wearing black and white. And the reason is because he knew when they come to service, they're going to want to look their best, right? So people are going to buy nice clothes. Well, if you're in uniform, you're not going to be worrying about buying nice clothes, right? So I shared with them that you're absolutely right. We had spoken about this a way back, and it simply slipped my mind. So I just want to share with you all as well that this teaching to wear uniforms, it was also so that the members weren't buying clothes to wear. They weren't buying suits and dresses and hats and different pairs of shoes. The money that they're not spending on uniforms would end up becoming extra money that they could give to the bishops of the House of Prayer or on their G-class reports, right? The money that they would have. And you all know that you're going to easily spend $200, $300, $400 for a wardrobe. And many people spend a lot of money for clothes. But if you're only wearing uniforms, you're not going to be spending that much money for clothes. And that's what was behind that. Also, he said every member should attend Sunday school. We now know and understand that the Sunday school is indoctrination camp in the House of Prayer. I get ready to do the next one. I have not forgotten. I will be coming back to show you all the complete lunacy in the context of the writings of our Sunday school books. The Sunday school committee, the individuals that put these Sunday school lessons together, they were just gone haywire with trying to prove that Mr. Cunningham is indeed a man who's made something more than a man, as Mr. Murray put it. But of course, this is simply not be. It's just more indoctrination. And the fact of the matter is, in order to get the people on board with Memorial Day weekend, they send out letters like this to try to amp the people up, right? Memorial Day coming up, Memorial Day coming up. And back then, I know when I was indoctrinated, it was exciting. I told you all, we had the truck that would be parked where you buying the snow cones and the Wilhelmina punch and the half smokes with the chili and the cheese and the mustard and the ketchup and the relish and the onions and the chard. I mean, come on, y'all know. So it was on. And the great big old trash receptacles with the mountain of trash on top because you couldn't push it down anymore. That was done to get the people there. But we showed you last night this auxiliary covenant. This letter was to hype the people up, to get them. Well, remember what Mr. Grace said, and we need to obey Mr. McCullough, Mr. Matt. But obedience was to get the people mentally conditioned to subject themselves to anything and everything being said, which boils down to just giving money. Nothing about anything other than. And the auxiliary covenant we learned, for those of you who were not here last night, this is the auxiliary covenant where Mr. Bailey had the members to vow along with the auxiliaries. You fill it out. There's a registration form that you're going to send as well. But look at this one part pertaining to Memorial Day weekend, right? As a testament to these vows, we will publicly demonstrate this commitment with full participation in the 2009 Memorial Day Parade. So now you can use, and you see, and it is something that you have to fill out. The president, the date, the house, the pastor, and we have the registration forms that I showed last night with all the other information on it. And every single member, remember, he's saying what the other bishops have said, need to be on the auxiliary. That's how they get you locked in. That's how they get you going. And then eventually your dues and your fines, and then your silence, and you're sat down, and pastors sitting in on your re-elections. And you're once again being trained and mentally conditioned to accept people over you sitting in your meetings to preside, right? You're conditioned into accepting all this until now you're sitting in a general assembly where one man has complete autonomy. He can do anything and everything he wants, and nobody can judge him but God, because that's the law. But of course, this makes no sense. Nobody can judge him. And it's in the Constitution. Okay. This was a trick. This was a trick. Somebody said it looked like a contract. Right. Golden Boy says, obey. Strong words, Mr. Bailey. Right. It was to get the members to obey the bishops, no matter what they say. And this had to be filled out and signed by pastors, presidents, and club members. Why? So that they can use it against you. The entire parade became a testimony for court. The recording of the parades and all the pictures that they took with all the people of the organization holding the flags and the banners became a testimony that we will, as members of the House of Prayer, fully support the bishops and these rule books. And it was a covenant. This whole thing was a trick to deceive and manipulate every member in this organization to being in that parade, to filling out this paperwork, to fill out registration forms, and send them into headquarters so that they can have on file to post and put inside of additional paperwork that would reflect in a courtroom that the members of this organization are fully behind the bishops. I can do anything I want. I'm going to be bishop forever until I die. All the property in here is mine for me to do anything and everything that I feel like doing. I don't have to ask anybody any questions. I do not have to put up with anybody asking me questions. I can whatever I feel like do. And they got the members who marched in that parade to sign off without them knowing that they were being deceived once again by these crooked councilmen working along with these crooked bishops. And Mr. Cunningham was right there in the midst, working on the Constitution Revision Committee, setting up this entire organization for us to take a fall so that he can prop up the bishops, and knowing that one day he's going to be in that seat. And this is why he's constantly telling people that I'm lying on him, other people lying on him. Mr. Murray telling people we're lying on him. Councilmen going around telling people we're lying on. And if you think about it, that's the only thing they have. They have nothing. They have no evidence to support any of the claims they say. They have no proof. They have no documents. They have no paperwork. Now, you would think that they would, because every single thing they do, they're supposed to be taking minutes. But to date, they have not only not given any minutes to support their claims that people are lying on them, but they have not responded one time to give an official response, not once. And they've not denied any of the allegations, not one allegation. And they want the people to continue year after year after year to march in Washington, D.C. in the honor of men who manipulated all the members of this organization, who deceived the public, who was giving money to the organization as well, while the organization had a permit to solicit funds from philanthropists, from other companies, like Miss Euphonia Green was bringing in money from her company to the tune of millions of dollars that Mr. Bailey did nothing about to return that money. Once he found out that that was stolen money, he didn't do anything to return anything. He said, well, no, y'all, when the house of prayer, it stays ours. Remember, that's in the Constitution. All of these things are wrong, and our members know it. You don't have to like what I say. You don't have to feel good about what I say, but the truth is the truth, and our Father in heaven supports, backs up, and confirms truth. He does not support and back up and confirm lies, and he has no respect of persons. And if we're going to do what it is that we do for him and for our Savior, who gave his life that we might have life one day, then we have to stand up and we have to stand up and tell the truth. And the truth of the matter is, no matter how hard it was for me to accept it, that these men that I too called my father, and I called them my father more than most members of the organization. I've done for them more than most members of the organization. I'm not comparing myself. I'm just saying, as much as I've done, here I am to make other people aware of the fact that they've been lying to us and deceiving us and manipulating this, the public, as well as deceiving the government and the IRS. And what I'm telling you is that this paperwork proves it. So with the Memorial Day parades, they want us to come every single year to honor men, not so much because these men are great, not because these men lifted up God or Jesus or gave the word, not because of that, not because they told us what Yah said and Yahuwah said or what the Ruach led them to say. They didn't come and give us truth. They didn't teach soul salvation or conviction so that we can get ourselves right. They didn't do those things at all. What they did was robbed us, as well as the communities that the houses of prayers were set up in. They leached every dime and every penny they could to sap up every community that they could, while doing absolutely nothing for anybody under the guise of setting up low-income housing or setting up a scholarship fund. The things that they set up, we can now prove and show. It looks like every single thing that was set up are scams, and we're waiting for the authorities to confirm it. I have to remember to use certain language because I'm not a judge. I have to remember to not call something what I see it as when talking to this public. I have to remember to say it's my opinion. Other people, it's their job to confirm it. But by me giving it to you all to look at, I'm asking you, what does it look like to you? So when I tell you that we have documents that says Mr. Murray and Mr. Cunningham are the beneficial owners of the entire organization, well, what does that look like to you? Because we're not making this stuff up. So when I tell you that this was being done to deceive the organization, I'm telling you that everything in here is a fraud. So how do they do it? They wrote letters making the people believe that they're hearing from heaven or they're getting revelation. But look at what this says. This was coming from, well, this is one I just read about Memorial Day weekend. But look at what this one says. I read this in another video, and I'll show it to you. Here. The General Council is the only group of men that is in the supreme bylaws, not the Constitution, for the protection of the bishop and the money, the works of the house of prayer. The General Council, where are they? In the supreme bylaws. So they get the people even more trained and conditioned to accept their orders as laws because they constantly refer to it in the letters. It's in the letters. Here's another one. Here's another. And it says, the font, I read this in another video, and I just grabbed these off the top of a stack that I had here. I have many, many letters coming from these bishops where they make references to the auxiliary bylaws and the supreme laws and the Are You Aware? But this is what they do. They get the people to believe. Please refer to pages 24 and 25 of the Are You Aware booklet. Why? Because you see what's in bold? Failure to do so will result in a violation. It's to further indoctrinate and mentally train the members and condition them into accepting the bishop's orders as law. And that's why I also read what Mr. McCullough said in one of the booklets that he had written for holy matrimony, and said that my words will not return unto me void. But we know that that's not true of a man. It is true of our Heavenly Father, but not a man. Now, let's go ahead into the supreme laws and see where this takes us. First of all, I want to show you there's two more that I don't have here. But look at this. May 2004, it was reprinted. But it does not show who revised it. Remember, we talked about this last night. Okay. And I have more other years. Here, 2004, 2005, it was reprinted again. Okay. And same thing in like fashion. Who revised it? We don't see who revised it. Okay. And again, reprinted 2010. Now, mind you, Mr. Cunningham was a part of this on the Constitution Revision Committee. Just because it says Constitution and doesn't say auxiliary bylaws or supreme laws doesn't mean that he didn't have nothing to do with these. We know that he had something to do with these because, again, as I read, showed you last night, it has inside the Constitution now that there's an order of precedence. And once again, you see the Constitution, the supreme laws, and the auxiliary bylaws. And they're put in here by Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Jones, Jimmy Jones, Miss Mickey Bailey, and Mr. Cuthbert, the judge, down in Georgia. Now, we have 3 here. Revisions. 3. Then it was revised again. Now, it was revised a few times before the first one in my hands, 2004. And each time it was revised, the members didn't have no say-so in this. Just like we didn't have any say so in the auxiliary bylaws. So they're not really laws. And just like I showed you last night, now we're getting ready to find out what is inside this auxiliary bylaw book. Well, I'm sorry, supreme laws. Look at this. This is the auxiliary bylaws, right? Remember, we read Article 9. A chairman, assistant chairman, pastor, elder, officer, or member will not work contrary or withhold information when an inquiry is made by the Supreme. If he or she is found guilty, the individual will be discharged from his or her position and maybe other punishment. Now, you're going to find throughout these booklets a whole lot of mention of people going to be discharged, people going to be removed, people going to be under violation, people going to be fined, people going to be investigated, right? And maybe other punishment, depending on the seriousness of the case, maybe other punishment, right? But you're going to find nothing hardly mentioned about in the event that the bishop does wrong, in the event that the council does wrong, in the event that the chairman does wrong, in the event that the General Assembly secretary does wrong. Maybe there should be some rules in the event that a former bishop's wife does wrong. Now let's get into the supreme law so I can show you exactly what it is that we're talking about. Here is the latest. Once again, handiwork of Mr. Cunningham and Company. Mr. Bailey, Mr. Cunningham, Miss Mickey Bailey, Mr. Jimmy Jones, and the judge. Now, this one is a little bit more extensive. I'm going to read through it. I'm not going to take too much time. And depending on the hour, I'm going to try to get this done in an hour. And if I don't make my way through it all, then we'll just pick up on tomorrow. Okay. Article 1, Supreme Laws. The General Council, which is the highest ecclesiastical court of this organization, shall be composed of a Supreme Court and a lower court. The General Council shall be composed of a Supreme Court and a lower court. That's backwards. Now, I'm not going to go in on this, but it's backwards. A Supreme Court and a lower court does not make up a general council. And I know many of the councilmen looking at this right now, you're saying, what does Lewis think he's talking about? That man, how he's going to tell us? Okay. What I'm telling you, councilmen, including Mr. Cunningham, you remember I was on the phone with you and you mentioned something. And I told you then in that telephone conversation, oh, by the way, I found four old phones that I had in storage. I keep telling, I don't throw a lot of things away. I found 4 old phones that I have in storage. I charged 2 of them and they still work. I'm going through my messages now. I'm trying to find out which one it was that I have those phone calls on and the text messages that we interchange. But anyway, in that conversation, I shared with you that you were not doing what the law says you're supposed to have been doing. And you said, excuse me? I said, well, you heard me. The law says that you're supposed to X, Y, Z. And remember, that was pertaining to when you had me escorted out of the General Assembly by councilmen after y'all did not do your job and stamp my credential in California. And you sent it back by Mr. Monroe, who's now in Charlotte. And he lied several times along with you all. In that I thought, my pastor thought, and another young man thought in that same house that my credential had been signed. The problem is y'all knew that you didn't sign it. You didn't stamp it. And then you held me accountable for something that y'all failed to do. that you intentionally failed to do so that you could use it as a reason to get me out of the General Assembly and then to take my credential, which you didn't take it. You simply said it's not valid because it wasn't stamped. I don't own a stamper with the bishop's name on it. So anyway, you did not have me go to the back door and wait for him to arrive so that my name could be called and I could be brought in before him for him to decide and determine whether or not I would be allowed into the General Assembly. And you did it intentionally so that you can cover it up and even keep it from Mr. Bailey that you and the council had set me up. Once again, set me up. And I didn't know how y'all were running circles around Mr. Bailey also. Again, when I told you that, how are you going to tell me, though, was your response? What do you mean I didn't follow the procedures of the General Assembly? And when I explained it to you, how are you going to tell me, though? You're going to tell me, though. You're going to tell me, though. I said, yes, I'm telling you. You know for a fact that you were supposed to have me go to the back. You didn't do that, but you were supposed to. And now I know why. It was to keep that information from Mr. Bailey. You had been deceiving him with other things as well. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. But I didn't say yes, you do. So you don't remember XYZ. You don't remember calling me on the phone about 30 days before the General Assembly came up for 5 minutes just to see how I was going to respond and feel me out as to whether or not I knew that my credential wasn't signed. And you acted like you forgot or you didn't remember. I said, okay, he knows whether you did or not, but I'm going to accept it and I'm going to leave it alone. This was when I was trying to get you to come forward for the things that you had your hand in to deceive Mr. Bailey, as well as set me up, lying on me time and time and time again. Anyway, the Supreme Court is not a part of the lower court. The lower court is not a part of the Supreme Court. The only difference between the lower court and the Supreme Court is when the bishop is present. And that's what makes it the Supreme Court. So this Article 1 is faulty. When the bishop wrote it up, he obviously did not use a lawyer or anybody who understands constitutional language, how to write up a constitution so that it will reflect actual procedures as well as due process. It was just written up to give him power and position over all the people. So it's easy for me to deduct that he did not know what he was doing. And every single bishop, and since you apparently were on the Constitution Revision Committee, you didn't catch it yourself. And apparently Miss Bailey didn't catch it neither. Miss Mickey Bailey, she didn't catch it. And this is my point. It says here that the General Council, which is the highest ecclesiastical court of the organization, shall be composed of a Supreme Court and a lower court. The problem is that's not what the General Council is composed of. The General Council, it should say, is composed of a group of men, pretty much, that's appointed by the bishop. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and read through here, and I'm going to show you the flaws of this laughable constitution. Supreme laws. Shall be composed of a Supreme Court and a lower court. The Supreme Court shall be in session when the bishop sits in conference with the other members of the General Council. This is another flaw. When the bishop sits in conference with the other members of the General Council, that's the bishop of the organization having a meeting with the General Council. That's not Supreme Court. The Supreme Court shall be in session when the bishop sits in conference with the other members of the General Council. That's simply a meeting. That's not Supreme Court. A court is not when you're in conference with the other group of men that's on an appointed council. That's not a court. So this is an error. And these are the types of things that a revision committee should be looking for. And then you make recommendations to the members as it goes to the houses for them to hear, read, discuss to make sure they understand it, and then allow them to vote on it. And then they send it back so that we have the results of each and every congregation in the organization. And then those results should be compiled, counted, and then verified and sent back to all the congregations so that they can hear in all the house meetings the results of their vote before it even goes to the General Assembly. Why? Because that is transparency. That's when you can say that these things have now had due process. It went through procedure and the members had a hand in it. But when the members don't know and the members don't have a clue and the members are not seeing this language and it goes through anyway, then you can't legally say that the people had a hand in it. So this is a technicality since there's an auxiliary covenant that you had the entire organization sign. But the Supreme Court is supposed to be, simply put, whenever the Supreme sits in session with the General Counsel. It then at that time transitions into a Supreme Court, but not that the Supreme General Counsel is made up of a Supreme Court and a lower court, because the only difference between the two is the fact that the bishop is present. Anyway, when the Supreme is in session, all rulings shall be rendered by the bishop. Again, setting right off to give all power of the organization to me. I'm the one in charge. All rulings shall be rendered by the bishop. It's a bishop that wrote this. The people didn't write this. The people didn't sign this. The people didn't sign off on it. They certainly didn't vote on it. The bishop is, I mean, you can, as I read through this, you can see the bishop saying, I'm going to have the power. I got the power. Dun, dun, dun. It's getting kind of hectic. That's what he's doing. Just giving himself power. So when we see the first article, all rulings shall be rendered by the bishop, he's giving himself power. The lower court shall consist of state chairmen and others who are appointed by the bishop of this organization. Everybody on that council is either appointed by the bishop or allowed to sit on the council by the bishop. And you're going to see that in a moment. This is Section A. The General Council of the United House of Prayer for all people of the Church on the Rock of the Apostolic Faith is set forth. I'm setting y'all out here to protect the work of this organization, the money, and its leader, the bishop. Not the people, but the money and the leader, the bishop. The problem with this is the bishop is not the leader of the organization. This is another flaw because we are a nonprofit, 501c3. The CEO can't be the leader. The board of directors is the lead of the organization, not even leader. It's the lead, a leading group of people who are put there by other people. This is where the General Assembly comes in. But to put that word there, once again, it is to condition the people mentally into believing in the idea that the bishop is the leader of the organization. That's the religious side being merged with the business side. Remember, we talked about this? This is the bishop being merged with the CEO. And there are two entirely different people. They're two different roles, right? Know your role. Y'all remember this? Know your role. The role of the bishop is not the same as the role of the CEO. But this is the problem, because the men on the council in the front, they have not been teaching the members the different roles that are being played within the organization. And since obviously you all don't understand the different roles, or you're showing that you act like you don't understand, the people are still led in the dark. Okay. So with that in mind, if we understand the different roles of the organization, once again, Mr. Murray said there's only two roles. There's the leader, and everybody else are followers. And I would completely understand a comment like that coming from somebody like you, because I'm told that you're either a lobbyist or you used to be a lobbyist. I don't know how true it is, but you certainly sound like one. A lobbyist knows how to talk. They know how to present information and twist it in order to lead people into believing and thinking things that they need them to believe and think, even though it may not be factual. But again, it's not really surprising coming from the same person who is put out in the front to auction off the bishop's suits during convocation stops, right? The one who has to drum it up and let the people know, well, this suit doesn't have not one handkerchief, but it's got two handkerchiefs blessed by the so-called man of God. And can I get 1,500? Can I get 1,600? Can I get 1,800? All of that stuff has nothing whatsoever to do with the business side. To drum up the ideas of the false doctrine, that's the religious practices. They're false, but the government don't have nothing to do with what the people believe. But when you cross that threshold and you start selling things and telling people that the clothing is blessed because he wore it so you can sell his suit, well, now you crossed over into the business side. And the problem with that is that there's been no accountability over all the things going on. And the members are not aware because you're not teaching them the roles. The role of the CEO is not to give one of the members a suit to be auctioned. So since the CEO is a job in the organization where the CEO is being hired by the members of the organization, that's one role. And the CEO is certainly not the leader. And everybody else in the organization does not follow the CEO. Everybody else in the organization, they work either alongside of the CEO or they work to observe the CEO. And some people are supposed to keep the CEO in check. So remember, it's not two roles, because you talked about athletics and sports. There's several roles. Anyway, according to Section A, the General Council, their job is to protect the bishop and the money. Well, that's a problem because we're a nonprofit. The nonprofit under 501c3 is not to function in order to serve the interest of one individual. That's why there's supposed to be a checks and balance system. That's where the General Assembly is supposed to be operating as a board of directors. But let's move on, because Section B is even worse. The officers of the General Counsel are as follows: judge, assistant judge, governing attorney, assistant governing attorney, recording secretary, financial secretary, treasurer, financial checkers, property checkers, grievance committee, chaplain, sheriff, and deputy sheriffs. Judge, assistant judge, governing attorney, those are your top three. Now, the general counsel, the officers of the general counsel, there's one who's the top of the general counsel, and that person is called the head judge. Mr. Cunningham was the head judge. Here's another problem. This lists all the officers of the general counsel, but it doesn't say bishop. Yet, it says in Article 1 that the bishop is a part of the general counsel. Another mistake. Anyway, let's move on. Now, this is new. At the end of, after Section B, Section C, I haven't read this yet. All officers of the general counsel must be elected by the general counsel, except those appointed by the bishop. Anybody can be appointed by the bishop. Everybody else is to be elected. Now, the bishop has the right to appoint any officer to serve on the general counsel. Bishop giving himself power. Everybody else is to be elected except the ones I appoint. The bishop has the right to appoint any officer to serve on the general counsel. I can appoint him. The bishop has the right to appoint, change, or remove any officer of the general counsel. That's new. That was just made up. It was put there by Miss Mickey Bailey, Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Jimmy Jones, and Mr. Cuthbert. Here's 2010. Under Article 1, Section C. Article 1, Section C. This is new. The bishop has the right to appoint, change, or remove any officer of the general counsel. This is new. Section C. Article 1, Section C. Article 1, Section C, you do not see that there. It's new. It was just added. Nobody knew it because nobody had a meeting about this book. The members did not have a meeting about that book. The pastors did not have a meeting about this book. Nobody voted on anything in this book. It was simply revised along with the auxiliary bylaws and the Are You Aware, let us not forget, along with the Constitution. And I'm sure it was by this Constitution Revision Committee. And the bishop approved it. But no one knew anything about it, the changes in it, because there is no meetings with the members. Now, with that in mind as well, he's just giving himself more and more power. He can appoint, he can change, or he can remove any officer in the general counsel. That was done to instill fear in the people on the council. I'm the one got the power. I got the power. Y'all serve me. You protect me. And this is why you see Mr. Ladisall, reading scripture. Yes, sir. Sorry, Dad. Mr. Commodore, I choose you. All these others, Mr. Taylor, their job is to serve the bishop. Their job is not, according to the supreme laws, to serve the people. And that is a problem. And we're going to fix it. Now, any of you that knows anything about parliamentary procedure or the positions of leadership in any corporation or company, you all know it's actually illegal for executive officers to band together to work to defend one person in their wrong, or to do every single thing that they do to serve one person and their interests. Okay, I'm not going to go any further there. Section D, whenever the general counsel convenes in the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of appeals of this organization, whenever the general counsel convenes in the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of appeals of this organization, the bishop shall at all times be addressed as Your Honor Supreme. I would have worded that differently. I would have worded it as, whenever the bishop sits in session with the general counsel at that time becomes the Supreme Court. During a Supreme Court session, the bishop shall at all times, so on and so forth. Because you're making a clear separation. Even though it's not legal, that's how it should be worded for transparency, for understanding purposes. But either way, my question is, why does the bishop have to be called Your Honor Supreme? Well, again, because the bishop was the one writing this at first. It started with Mr. Grace and then revised by future bishops. It's just an ego thing. Your Honor Supreme, why? Now, I'm sure I don't know everything that comes with that title. I'm sure it has something to do with other things that go on in other areas that has nothing to do with the members of the House of Prayer. But we are to say Your Honor Supreme. And this is a problem for me because we've seen that the bishops are not honorable. According to the things coming forward. So why is it that they're demanding honor? And why is it that they're demanding to sit in the position of rulership? Another thing, when we talk about the two roles, leader and follower, it was brought up with Mr. Murray about Moses. But his father-in-law, Jethro, told him, Moses, what you're doing is not good. You the only one sitting here ruling and deciding all these cases over these people. That's not good. You're going to kill yourself. You can't do all this by yourself. Moses went back, talked to Yahuwah, talked to God. And he told him, listen to your father-in-law. Do what he said. And he was instructed to get 70 elders. And Moses did. And the order was so that they can help you to govern the people. So now you got help. Now, the problem is that the impression that's being given to the members of the House of Prayer is that the council is that group of men, like the 70 elders. The problem is it's not supposed to be the council. It's supposed to be, for the organization, the General Assembly. In the religious practice, now you can have a council, but the council is not supposed to be acting the way that they act as a board of directors. And so when we're looking at the supreme laws, what the bishop is really doing, He's inserting the general council as a type of board of directors without calling them a board of directors. And this is what you all need to see as we continue reading through this. Now we're going to go through this a little bit faster since you understand the setup now, because that's the okie doke. And I need you all to understand that we're the boss, we're the biggest thing in here, and everybody else is subservient to all of us. And for you councilmen, just make sure I'm the head cheese. And I can set up and I can take down anytime I feel like it. It goes on to say, penalty. After one is instructed and fails to address the Supreme properly, he or she shall be charged with contempt of court if they don't say, Your Honor Supreme, they're getting hit with contempt of court. Forcing the people to give exaltation to the bishop. Again, written by the bishop. The General Council, Article 2, must be of such character that Article 8 in the Constitution and bylaws of this organization points to. Article 8. This is the biggest. Article 8, Section 1. The ministers of the United House of Prayer for All People of the Church of the Rock of the Apostolic Faith shall be such men as shall be selected, designated, ordained, and set apart by the bishop. Ministers shall be of moral conduct, always in good standing with the church, and respectability according to the doctrines of Jesus Christ, and not of filthy lucre or of selfish intention, and shall preside for the benefit of their congregations. Now, y'all know good and doggone well, this does not equate to the General Council. Let's just set this to the side and continue. Section A. The ministers and elders of the United House of Prayer for All People of the Church on the Rock of the Apostolic Faith shall be selected, designated, and ordained by the bishop. Now, this part, they messed up because that's in this book, in the Constitution. So Section A is Section 1 of Article 8 under ministers in here. But here it says the General Council must be of such character that Article 8 in the Constitution and bylaws of this organization points to. And then it directly quotes it. There's no need to refer to it if you're going to quote it. You just print it in here as a law. But this is a part of the mental conditioning, because by referring to the Constitution, it's again conditioning the people to believe that the Constitution, another law book that we must abide by. And you're going to see these books keep on interchangeably referencing one another, so that the people who's reading one, they believe in the other one being a law book that they have to adhere to. And they read that, they believe in another one. This is another law book that I must adhere to. This is another law book that I must adhere to. It's all mental conditioning. And the bottom line is, it's all lies, because these are not laws. The exact same clause in the Constitution is here. Section B. Ministers or elders of this organization shall have no power or right to establish a united house of prayer anywhere without the consent of the bishop. Okay. Penalty. If found guilty if found violating this rule, the fine shall be $100 and maybe other punishment. Here we go with the money. Okay. Section C. Revivals may be held anywhere that is legal or lawful with the consent of the bishop. Okay, no problem. Article 3. All members of the General Council must arrive at the first point of the convocation to begin the session at the designated time, 11 a.m. or other time specified. Now, he gives a time. He gives a time that the council must be there to start. You must be there to start. The penalty. Failure to comply shall result in a fine of $10 and maybe other punishment, unless a reasonable excuse is given. So now, council, especially you new ones that I just put on there, I'm training you to do whatever I say. Now you're being conditioned. $10 fine for not being on time, unless you have a good excuse. Another income stream. Y'all be surprised how many elders traveling with the council and getting hit with these fines. Section A, Article 3, Section A. After the first point of the council session, the general council members will be given Monday for traveling time to the next city if the next city is more than 100 miles. If the next point is less than 100 miles, the general council must be in session on Monday unless excused by the bishop, giving himself more power. I'm such a gracious Addie. I'll give y'all Monday off. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. It's more conditioning. Failure to comply, to be there on time and be fined. Here's another question. Why is it that the bishop does not have to be on time for anything in the entire organization? Nothing does he have to be on time for. There's no rule to apply to him. And that's another red flag, because CEOs of companies have rules to abide by. They must comply with company rules also. CEOs don't skirt around the rules. We have the only CEO that gets to do anything and everything he wants and not have to fear any backlash, any investigation, any interrogation, any questioning, or even a performance evaluation. Our CEOs have not been evaluated by the company that they serve. Who hired them? Isn't something wrong with this picture? I digress. Let me go tell you. Penalty, Section A. Failure to arrive at all that day without a legal excuse that Monday. If I don't say that you're excused, you're supposed to be there Monday. If you fail to arrive, you shall be fined $25. Income stream. Now, here's the thing. Again, I'm telling y'all, that's Article 3, Section A, penalty. Article 3, Section A, penalty. Failure to arrive at all that day without a legal excuse shall be fined $5. So they revised it and they increased the price from $5 to now $25. Income stream. Each occurrence. Okay? Now, again, people didn't have nothing to do with this. People don't even know anything about this. But it's going into circulation because the bishops wanted to. And this is what you're going to comply to because I said so. not because it's a legitimate law, simply because I said so. These are the tricks being played on the members of the organization. Look at section B. The judge or assistant judge shall preside at all sessions. These sessions shall be opened by the chaplain. The roll of the general council, ministers, and elders shall be called. The judge shall open the session for business. Penalty. Any member of the general council, minister, or elder failing to be present by the end of the roll call shall be fined $5 unless a reasonable excuse is given. Now, here we go. You see section B? Section B. Look at the penalty. Any member of the general council, minister, or elder failing to be present by the end of the roll call shall be fined $1. So they went up on that too, from $1 to $5. Okay. Income stream. People, you can't make this stuff up. Section C. All ministers and elders of each state must be members of the state council. Must be members. Whenever the general council arrives in a state, the state council unites with the general council and works as one body when the general council is in full session. What does that mean for all the members? Elders, I'm sorry. Elders, y'all did not know this, but all these elders putting in applications to go and try to travel with the council. This is evidence that you're already members of the general council, at least when convocation sets in the state. The whole elder board of the entire state gets pulled into the general council for that week as the general council comes and combines with the elders of the state. So I say that, members, because y'all don't understand. Whenever the council convenes, sometimes they'll say, anybody who's not a part of the council, please be excused. And they will tell elders to leave. And elders have left, not paying attention to the fact that, wait a minute, you are a part of the general council. You're a part of the general council. Now, but they do that because there's things they don't want you to hear. There's things they're going to do, they're going to set up, but you can't be a part of hearing that because they're doing some things wrong. The impression is that they're handling sensitive business. But if you're on the general council, you're an elder of the state. You're supposed to be there. The law says it. The problem is it's not a law, and they know it's not a law. Okay. I'm trying to keep a picture of the comments as well. Let's continue. Section C, all ministers and elders of each state must be members of the council. Section D, all ministers and elders must be in session as often as the general council is in a full session. Any minister or elder failing to attend must pay an absentee fee of $10, more money. If a minister or elder will be absent from the session, he must submit a notice of his absences in writing no later than the first day of the council session in his state. Penalty. Any member, minister, or elder failing to send in a written notice of absence without a legal excuse shall be fined $5 which is independent of his $10 absentee fee. More money, $15 now. Okay, more money. Now, here's the issue. Just a side note, I did that. I sent my letter, gave it to the pastor at the time to give to the chairman, Mr. Monroe, sent it out to LA. My excuse letter explaining to the court, the council, I can't be there because I just moved, asking for an extension like I was supposed to do according to the law. Your job was to stamp it, approve of my extension to allow me to come to council when you came to the East Coast. And so for all of the members of the organization who keep saying that I lost my credential because I committed violations or it was taken by the bishop or taken by the council, this is what happened. Mr. Cunningham and the general counsel took my credential as I followed the laws, and they didn't stamp it. They simply gave it back to Mr. Monroe, who brought it back to me, knowing that it was not stamped. When I get into the General Assembly, Mr. Cunningham saw me walk in the door, immediately got upset. Immediately. I told this story, I don't know how many times, and the details never change because I'm telling the truth. Immediately got upset. And in his response, he was saying, "What are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be in here." Well, how do you know that? Have you seen your credential? Is it valid? That's when it hit me. But you knowing that it was not valid proves that y'all intentionally didn't stamp my credential. And that was your method of having me removed from the General Assembly and keeping my credential from returning it to me. So members of the organization, every one of you, as I continue reading through this, just so that you all know, I'm supposed to be in every single General Assembly anyway, because I have not broken any laws, I have not violated any laws, and my absence from the General Assembly is a result of wrongdoing by the General Counsel, the senior minister at the time, who was the General Assembly secretary, and now put himself in the seat as bishop, in order to cover up their wrongdoing so that I would not be there to accuse them. So each time I'm not in the General Assembly, it's actually another violation. Surprise. Let's continue. So, this is why I keep saying I'm still a member. I've never, ever left. I never took my name off of anything. I'm still a member. And I put in my letter to you, Mr. Cunningham, that you need to give me my credential back so that I can be there to do what it is that the law says I'm supposed to be doing. So now the members know the rest of the story. So it goes on to say, Article 4, no member of the General Council, minister, elder, or member shall speak cruelly to another. Let me go back. Another point. I also have individuals that are aware of every single detail of what I just said about my credential. So anyway, there are witnesses. Penalty, first offense for speaking cruelly to each other. He or she shall be duly warned by the judge of the General Council. Second offense, he or she shall be fined $5, maybe other punishment. Third offense, a charge shall be placed against the offender, and he or she shall be tried by the General Council. The fine shall be $25 to $100 and maybe other punishment. Again, more money. Okay. Now, Section A. The judge must be respected in his position at all times. Must be. Why? Further conditioning. Further conditioning. preparing the people to subject themselves to anybody and everybody. Penalty: anyone disrespecting the judge after he has called the session for court to order shall be fined $25 to $100 and maybe other punishment. More money. Watch this. That was Article 4. Okay. Article 4. Article 4. Look at Section A. And look at my notes. Used to be $1. Article 4. Section A. Anyone disrespecting the judge after he has called the session for court to order shall be fined $1 and maybe other punishment. Now they are to be fined $25 up to $100. Income streams. I'm telling you, people, understand. This is why at General Assembly, the members, the delegates need to go in there and do what they need to do, because this whole organization been running just upside down while a handful of men been lying to every single one of us in here, deceiving every single one of us in here. Okay. Here we go. Section B. Anyone who has been fined must pay his or her fine or go to jail and post a bond. More money. He or she has the privilege of obtaining a lawyer to appeal the case to the Supreme Court. This is again called unlawful detainment. It can be construed as kidnapping. I said last night about this pertaining to the various laws and even the illegal bonding, right? Let's continue to go on. Section C, no appeal case will be presented to the Supreme Court without the defendant having a lawyer as his or her counselor or representative. That's a setup. It's a setup. Why can an individual not speak for themselves if they have a case coming to be appealed before the bishop? Not the Supreme, the bishop. They must have a lawyer because they can't talk. Y'all know what the setup is? The one who needs a lawyer is being restricted from talking because they're the ones who know all the details. They're the ones who know all the lies. They're the one who knows that the bishop is lying. They're the one who knows that the councilmen are lying. But they need to have a lawyer who does not feel what that person feels. Their lawyer's not going to be angry. Their lawyer's not going to be upset. The lawyer's not going to be offended. Their lawyer is not going to know what they know. So when they tell a lawyer who's representing them, standing here in front of the bishop and in front of the council and in front of the members of the organization, they sit up there scared. And you want them to tell the bishop and the council that they're lying? What you're saying is not true. These bishops have lied through their teeth right in front of the people. You don't have to believe it. We have proof. There's several people who's waiting to come forward again to hold these people accountable. Councilmen got up one at a time, several times, several places, lied through their teeth. Mr. Cunningham too. Several times. Mr. Commodore come walking up there, Mr. Lattisall, Mr. Barksdale. These men will lie at the drop of a hat. But Section C is a setup because they don't want you up there talking. So if I have an appeal case, let's use my case as an example. The rule is set up so where I can't talk. They will want me to have a lawyer who needs to be somebody who's still in there and actively participating, giving money and rubbing elbows with all these other men and singing Sweet Dixie to Mr. Cunningham, right? You got to be in favor of him before you can serve as a lawyer. Apparently, this is what they're going to say. If not, they're going to disqualify you. But you can't talk. They wouldn't want me to talk. Everything I say, I got to whisper to my lawyer. And then they got to turn around and talk. But they know they're not going to say what I'm going to say. And that's how they hide information, true information, from the members who's sitting back here. Because they know that the member's not going to know what this person knows, who's on the floor, and it looks like this person is being manhandled and disassembled in front of everybody's eyes by the bishop and by the general counsel up in that front. And they keep maintaining this stellar appearance as if they're not doing anything wrong. Like this is a group of holy men. Members, y'all have no idea. These are some of the most corrupt, most crooked, most dirtiest, most wicked that y'all don't know. Anyone failing to have a lawyer in time to go before the Supreme Court by the end of the convocation will automatically forfeit his or her bond. You lose your money. I'm telling y'all see what this is all about? Y'all see what this is about? You lose your money. Section D. Well, let me explain that for those of you who don't understand. If you don't have a lawyer by the end of that convocation stop, you post a bond to get out of jail, right? You had a fine, you couldn't pay it or whatever. You get out, you have a lawyer to appeal your case because I ain't paying no $6,000. No, I'm gonna get a lawyer. Like that pastor who went up north, he was fined $16,000. Where do these fines come from? It's an income stream. Anyone failing to have a lawyer, the bond that you post to get out of jail, you lose it if you don't have a lawyer. Now, what they do is when you go around trying to get a lawyer, which is nothing but a member of the House of Prayer who's willing to go before the court to speak on your behalf. And nobody wants that job because they know when you get on the floor, the council are going to do everything they can to humiliate you. And then they're going to turn the bishop against you. See, y'all don't know, whenever council is in session, especially Supreme Court, and the bishop is going to be there, he's in the back. And this is where the council does their worst because they're preparing him with a bunch of lies, or the other way around. He's preparing them. But they're getting their stories together. And the council will tell him a bunch of things to rile him up or get him angry. Lies. Now, is this all the time? No. Sometimes we have cases that they have to look into. Sometimes we have some unruly members doing some things they shouldn't. Sometimes they will do what they're supposed to and bring people up to get to the bottom of something. Every once in a while, it's not all the time, but there are several times when they're setting people up. There's several times when they're lying and they know it. There's several times when the bishops are lying and they know it. And so when he comes out, the stories, the issues, these cases have already been resolved. And that person can't get up there and say anything. The lawyer, which is nothing but a member, it might be a deacon or a brother. It can even be a sister, but they're going to speak on your behalf. That counsel and the bishop is going to rip them apart to the extent that you're going to be laughed at by the people. And it's an unfair uh, playing field because you can't get up there with an appeal case to go before the council, the bishop, when the council's setting you up. The bishop is going to side with them. He's not going to go against them. These are his players. These are the men raising him all that money. These are the ones giving millions of dollars and the tithes as well that's going in his pocket. He's going to scratch their back. He's not going to come at them. And you and your lawyer is going to be humiliated. And y'all going to look. It's going to be so bad. And they've been doing this for the longest time. No, this is not anything near legal. All of this is illegal. But they know nobody can do anything about it because outside is not aware. And people who do go outside have not been aware of how to go outside. So it's going to be interesting, these turn of events that's coming up. D, any general councilman, minister, elder, or any other officer found charging any secretary of the House of Prayer for checking them shall not be spared. So if you go to check a secretary of a House of Prayer and you charge them $200 to check their books, you're not going to be spared. They're going to come after you. You're not supposed to be charging anybody to check them anyway. But the reason why this law is in here is because we have some secretaries that are new. They're not comfortable in what they're doing with the book work. And so they'll ask elders to check their books for them so that before council get there, they're not going to have any problems. And if they do have problems, they'll be aware of those problems and they can try to fix it before they get there. But some elders apparently have charged secretaries for this type of service, right? To check your books, to make sure that everything lines up and adds up to the penny. But again, well, now I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let me go ahead and keep going. So anybody that charges a secretary won't be spared. Article 5, there shall be no offerings taken on the night the Supreme is in service, with the exception of what is required by Article 15 herein. See, they don't say it. They don't say it. This is stuff like this I can't stand. Instead of just saying, there'll be no offerings taken on the night the Supreme is in service, except for Love March. They're not saying it. They don't want to say it. But with the exception of what is required by Article 15 herein, it's not required. Here, Article 15. This, I'm going to read it for you and let you read it as well. Article 15. Called for by the General Council. Why? Because they work for the bishop. They don't work for the people. Called for by the General Council, a free will offering shall be taken by the congregation for the bishop, wherever the convocation is in session, or at times other than during the convocation, by the chairman or pastor, whenever the bishop is present for service. Anytime the bishop comes, a call is going to be made for a free will offering. This is not free will. You're putting the people on the spot. Okay? This is not free will. Always been told love gift was required for every member. Right. We know behind the scenes, the members are being told many things. That is a requirement. But remember now, books can't show everything, right? Nudge, nudge, hint, hint, wink, wink. The books can't show everything. So we know that the members are keeping secrets the same way they keep. The council has this thing just locked down. And the lies to protect these bishops are so astronomical that it makes you wonder. We call it ourselves people of holiness and righteousness and sanctification. Mm-mm. So anyway, let me go back. Now, it says again, Article 5, no offerings taken on the night the Supreme is in service. In other words, pastors, everybody, chairman, no one collect nothing whenever I'm in town. Nobody. This is not because the bishop is being nice. He doesn't want any collections being taken up for anything else. So that all the money that is available to be collected will go to him. No other offerings. No offerings anywhere. Section A, all pastors in each state district must have their offerings taken on the same night. Now, look at what he just said. Whenever he's in town, nobody can take up anything. I don't care what it is. Y'all don't take up nothing. Whatever people got, that jangle comes to me. Now, this is new. This law look at what it says. There shall be no offerings taken on the night the Supreme is in service, with the exception of what is required by Article 15. No offering but his. And here, Article 5, look at what it says. There shall be no offering taken on the night the Supreme is in town. Do y'all know why that was changed? Because this makes it sound like there shall be no offering taken on the night the Supreme is in town. And that's what it should sound like. No offerings. But because it sounds like no offerings are to be taken, Mr. Cunningham made sure to add, no, we're not going to leave that like that. That law needs to say there should be no offerings taken on the night the Supreme is in service, with the exception of what is required by Article 15 herein, meaning ain't nobody else offering going to be taken up. No, you're going to take up mine. You taking up mine. And that's why that was added. A revision that the people didn't have nothing to do with. Okay. All pastors in each state and district must have their offerings taken on the same night. Why? Because if you have this pastor whose offering is on Friday, this was on Tuesday, that was on Wednesday, well, now you got people might be traveling around the different houses for pastors' offering, being invited for their program, right? Because you know they're going to be pulling people left and right to boost the pastor's programs. But the bishop doesn't want that happening. Nope, same night. Everybody stay home. You give your pastor what you're going to give them. That way, all these other nights, we got people coming to services and taking up collections for other things. Tithes, love gift, house offering, G-class raffles. The penalty, all pastors failing to obey this federal order, will be fined $25 and maybe other punishment. But look at what it says. Pastors failing to obey this federal order. How did we go from the laws of the organization to a federal order? The implication here is that this is nationwide. It's not local. It's not state. It's federal. This is the error coming from these. And it's not a law. It's an order. Let's see, I told you all, this is Bishop's order. This whole book is an order from the bishop. These things are not legal. People don't need to comply with this. No court in the land. Listen, let me back up. Because the court has that auxiliary covenant that all the members signed to. If I go to court, nobody's going to make me abide by that because my name is not signed on anything. As the only pastor in the organization that did not sign that auxiliary covenant, I can challenge it. And I can easily show and verify that this is inurement. That's illegal in a nonprofit. You can't be doing things to set up for yourself to receive money, for yourself to benefit from the people who's working in the nonprofit. And it's so smooth that you're not even calling the money raising. You're not even calling it something that's familiar in the world of nonprofits or charities, a fundraiser. You're just saying work. Nobody knows what you're talking about when you say work. And that's the reason why it's being used. People. Article 6. Any member who commits a violation of the following will not be spared. It used to be crime. And I'm going to stop here because I just saw the time. Any member who commits a violation, a crime, will not be spared, is what it used to say. But we're going to pick up here because this talks about the accuser facing the accused. And let me stop and make a note. Now, we'll go to the comments. I don't want to keep anyone too late. Obey. Golden Boy says, strong words from Mr. Bailey. Exactly. Want the people, the members of the organization, as well as the pastors and the chairmen and the elders and the officers to obey what he has to say. Miss Mintz says, that looks like a contract. Yes, it does. And she was talking about this, the auxiliary covenant. Looks like a contract. That's intentional, right? It's intentional to make it look like a certificate, a registration form. Jamal says they do right hand salute on Memorial Day when they walk by Grace House with the pictures out front. Yes, not only do they honor the former bishops of the House of Prayer, but they salute them. And again, it's a disgrace because we're talking about people where people are lining up with all types of evidence that questions and completely obliterates the term honorable being applied to these men, to include not just past bishops, but present day bishop, Mr. Cunningham. And this is why he's doing so much that he can to try to escape and run away from accountability. All the more reason why, people, you need to have your eye on that General Assembly, because he knows that General Assembly is where it's at. And he knows that the General Assembly can be problematic for him. And the councilmen know that, which is why they're constantly standing up in defense of Mr. Cunningham. And they need the members to still believe in them. They need the members to hoot and holler and yell and scream, all that stuff, because it blinds your senses. You don't see all the things that he's doing to hurt the members of the organization and the councilmen, what they're doing behind closed doors. They need this to continue. And that's why they prepare every single year for Memorial Day weekend, so that they can control it, so that the people will not do what they need to do or even learn what they're supposed to do. So a lot of people will not even drive any time of year near Logan Circle out of the fact that they still have memories about that place. I said before, some people won't even drive anywhere near Portal Drive because of the memories of traumatizing events that took place there. And people have told their stories and they're waiting to tell it again. Same thing, not just the men. This is why I keep talking about you, Miss Madison. There's a lot of people have a lot of things to say about your involvement in a lot of these things. Members don't need to be honoring these men who did this stuff and who overlooked this stuff, who protected this stuff and did nothing about this stuff. When people came to them, we have copies of letters that other people wrote to you, Mr. Cunningham, to make you aware of things, and they were ignored, completely ignored. Nothing whatsoever happened. And again, the thing is, members, a lot of these things may come out, but you don't need to hear the stories. You need to hear the people, while hearing the hurt and the pain in their voice, talking about these things. And people are eagerly looking forward to justice. That said, yes, they salute as well as honor these men. Grateful for it all, says Jamal. Yes, and this year they need to march right past it. A lot of people did not march last year. People are wondering what the parade is going to look like this year, because even many, many more people have pulled back, have put their participation on pause, have not contributed, have not given. And I mean, all over the organization. And people say, I'm not doing this. I'm going to sit back and wait until we get this thing cleaned up. All over the organization. And Mr. Cunningham and the chairmans, the council, and these pastors have been orchestrating means to try to get people that they can trust inside the General Assembly, so that they can do whatever they can to control that person's vote. Again, we're going to see how it goes. But grateful for it all, without saluting, to march right past it. Many people, again, they say they're not marching at all. Their conscience will not allow them to march in the honor of these men who's been responsible for many things. But not only that, keep in mind this paperwork from this auxiliary covenant since 2009, the pictures of these parades can also be used as a testimony of further commitment to the bishops. So this documentation being used downtown is further allowing the legal offices, court offices, or agencies to conclude, well, the members must be okay with this stuff because here we have a covenant. And look at the parade each year. All them people over there, they seem to be right there in line behind the bishop. The agencies need to not see people in support of this nonsense, to where this man has all this control, all this power, access to all the assets, the money, the property, anything and everything he wants, whenever he wants, to do anything he wants, with zero accountability, mistreating people, zero accountability, simply because he put all these things in this book that the people knew nothing about. We need to fix what has been broken and trampled all over and kicked to the curb, which is the integrity of what should be a transparent and honest nonprofit. Whenever y'all march, pictures are now that you are in solidarity. You're in agreement that we stand behind every word in this Constitution. That's what Mr. Cunningham is using even the parades for. The attendance in the convention center, that's being used as testimony that the people don't have no problem with that Constitution. Remember, they've been covenanted. The General Assembly is where it's at. Let's continue. Jamal says, I agree. Joe Villante, that's true. There's a consequence. There are consequences for our actions. Absolutely, every single one of them. And we've been duped. We've been taken advantage of all the time, over and over and over. And we still are by these groups of men. Golden Boy, what's crazy to me is that Mr. McCullough knew that Elizabeth Dolores Bale Madison would come for his family the same way he came for all the trustees of Mr. Grace's day. He didn't care. He knew. Oh, we have some paperwork, and it's really interesting to show how the past leaders have been maneuvering things. Families are not aware of, members are not aware of. But it certainly looks like Miss Madison, she's knowledgeable about a lot of these things, as we see some transactions even with her dealings. We are going to be getting more and more and more to the bottom of some things, and we'll be revealing other things as we go. But the point is, members, non-members, friends of the channel, the more we find, the harder it is for Mr. Cunningham and his group of loyalists. It's hard for them to dispute because there's so much evidence. And so for Miss Madison, again, she's hedged in by the bishops. He protects her. So whatever she's done, there's ways of getting through, but just sit tight and sit back. But the bishop, while he's protecting her, he's protected by council and General Assembly secretary. And this is why they use the pastors and they intimidate them. That's why y'all see the pastors sitting up there in the General Assembly not saying anything. They're afraid. They're scared. There's some that may not be, but they don't know what to say, don't know what to do, perhaps. I don't know. I just know that we don't have men within these groups standing up for what's right. With that in mind, we're going to continue doing what it is that we are doing. And the hope is that you all will see more and more and more through the lies and the deceptions and the manipulations of the council, Mr. Cunningham, and Miss Madison, because she's quiet for a reason. She's just hoping beyond hope that get past all of this so she can keep on just taking advantage of her comfortable life at the expense of the members of this organization. So, members, pay attention so you can spread the word so that we can prepare. Mr. Golden Boy, thank you for that comment. B. Meverderman, hello all. Hello, the lives of him and her. Welcome in, everyone. We're glad you're here to make an impact. Please thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Help the algorithm spread the good news and fuel the mission. Thank you so much, lives of him and her. I appreciate you. Golden Boy says Mr. McCullough has been the biggest letdown for me recently, but learning about this shady dealings helps you to understand how they're doing this and getting away with it. Yeah. You all will probably understand with the bulk of information that we're going to be putting out. Some of you might not understand it. When I come back and talk about it, I'm going to break it down to the least common denominator so that even children would be able to understand what it is we're talking about. But what he's saying is evidence is all over the place. So just to sit in a room and hear somebody yell and scream, I'm his servant, I'm his servant, I'm his servant. And somebody else say, he's his servant, he's his servant. To fight me is to fight him. To fight me is to fight him. Y'all don't fight me because you're fighting him. You're fighting it. Just somebody saying that doesn't mean anything. And he's watching. So to continue trying to flee by staying put and lying, it's going to backfire, and it's coming sooner than you think. I don't know when, but it's going to backfire. Thank you again, Golden Boy. They've been getting away with a lot, but just because you got by doesn't mean you're going to get away. Hey, Golden Boy, from the lives of him and her. Miss Kareen, hello, hello, hello. Miss Mintz, hello. Hey, what's going on? Grateful for it all. Take your time, Brother Lord. Yeah, I said I was going to try to get through that book tonight and not comment much, but you need to understand, again, why they've written what they've written, the purpose behind it, right? This council and the staff and the General Assembly Secretary, all of them are serving, I mean, literally serving him. Forget you and I, forget the congregations, forget the organization. And when y'all see what's been set up, I'm telling you, you have keep it together. Keep it together. Don't get upset. Vote. And we're going to tell y'all what to say. And thank you, Grateful for it all. Golden Boy. Hello. Lord Rodriguez. Yes. That's a reference to a TikTok video that was put together. Again, people making light. Um, it's good to laugh through these things. Um, we don't mean to offend anyone, but it is rather upsetting to see individuals doing this type of thing, conducting themselves this type of way in order to take advantage of people and again to get their money. So we are delighted to be bringing news so that individuals who were once operating in the dark are now being drug out to the light. Um, and we want to keep it there. Here, Golden Boy talks about, oh, Miss Mintz says, Gangsta Boo, D. Madison must be Lord Rodriguez's mentor. Um, some of this might sound a little strange to some of you. However, we people are discovering some things and people coming forward. There's some real mentoring going on that people think that, people are just making stuff up. Mm-mm. Y'all going to be surprised with all the things that is so bad. Y'all going to be surprised with all the things that's coming up. So anyway, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Golden Boy says, I have pictures and video of him working as a lobbyist / politician from C-SPAN, lobbying for HBCUs. Okay. He's one of the senior VPs at the United Negro College Fund right now. And his boss is Dr. Michael L. Lomax. Ah, well, mm, I hope that people, anyway, this stuff can't keep getting by with things. Now, the question is whether or not other people are involved in what Mr. Murray's involved in. And it's a valid question. However, we're going to sit back a little bit longer. And when we have evidence to support certain things, that's when we'll come forward. Certain things are sensitive. And again, we want to keep everything on an even keel. We don't want to stir up anything. We just want to make people aware, not to stir up emotions, simply make people aware so that you're behind us and supporting what it is that we're doing, knowing that what we're doing is to benefit and help all of the members throughout the organization, as well as people that are not members of the organization who's going to be needing and seeking all types of assistance, all types of counseling, all types of therapy, or whatever else. That's what we should have been doing in the first place. That's what we're looking to do. So pertaining to others and Mr. Lomax, don't know. We hope that he's not involved in these things, but at the same token, we don't know whether even Mr. Lomax knows about the affiliation of Mr. Murray and his involvement in corruption in this organization. So again, people just stand by. We'll be bringing more to you as we uncover more. Miss Mintz, I wonder if, right, Dr. Lomax, we don't know, Golden Boy, that part at Miss Mintz, right? I wonder if there's a clause for him to uphold a certain level of conduct in order to hold the VP position as well. That's another good point. We'll be talking about this by the morning. We'll be talking about this by the morning so that we can see a few different angles. But yes, absolutely. Golden Boy says we got to call him out by name and ask the questions. All associated should want to distance themselves from this muck as far as business dealings. And by muck, he's talking about muck and miry clay. And anybody who is in any affiliation with anybody who's got stain on their practice, um, who has been involved in the past and may not have been aware of individuals' affiliations that might be a bit shady, you want to distance yourself. If not, it's going to stun your political careers, as well as even your public image. So I would get with your PR specialist, public relations specialist. I would get with your PI consultants, public image consultants, and I would get their feed on this, their take. And I guarantee you, they will tell you, you want to wash your hands and back off, because your objective should be serving the people in your communities while seeking to advance within the political arena so that you can do more to help more. However, here you're dealing with people who has worked hard to create a facade, a picture, a visualization, if you will, of people who's doing what they can to help people, while in reality, they're doing everything they can to take, take. Ah, um, thank you again, Golden Boy. Darlene, how many members have and know these bylaws? Ooh, good question. Not a lot. Not a lot. We have people reading now, but to know this information, not a lot. I would be interested to know that as well. Um, Thank you, Darlene. Very, very good question. Miss Mintz, uh, got Golden Boy clapping. The Lord, Darlene, the bishops were never on time. Yes, we were talking about how they're finding counsel. They want to find them for not being where you're supposed to, not starting on time, blah, blah, blah. They want to find the members. But what about you? Well, the bishop don't have to be nowhere. Da, 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 da. Well, no. If you have a meeting, you're supposed to be in that meeting before it starts. You're supposed to be waiting. You're supposed to be ready. And if you're applying these laws to other people, well, you should also be applying them to yourself. This is the epitome of hypocrisy. So to come places without being on time, yet there's no penalty for you. There's no, even Mr. Cunningham, from time to time, he would told the congregations, I don't know what we complaining for. I remember a time Mr. McCullough, he used to come walking in the door around midnight, right? But people are complaining because they don't want to be standing up on their feet or sitting down on a seat while listening to everybody whisper to you, and listening to everybody um, give you information that you're going to hold other people accountable to. But no one can hold you accountable to anything. People are fed up and tired, especially seeing these so-called laws being written one-sidedly. But this is, again, people, where we have to come in and do what's necessary. Um, Darlene, thank you for that comment. The last of him and her, we invite you to join our community by following the Reformation and Governance Committee on TikTok, www.tiktok.com. The link is right here. And we know that you're going to enjoy. It has quite a bit of information on the TikTok channel as well. Darlene, question, why hasn't the churches been fined for violating the fire codes regarding occupant capacity? Yeah. The question is necessary because the truth is that we have
in the times past violated occupancy limitations. But now it's hard. Um, to answer your question, I'm sure they haven't paid any violations, but with the exception of maybe Charlotte, maybe even then they probably didn't pay anything. But it's hard because you have all this paperwork, um, and yet and still, when it comes to um, occupancy, all the paperwork does not reflect the number of people that's attending right now. So the paperwork, you want the people to accept it as law. You want them to accept anything you say, letters, as orders from heaven. But even though you're saying, people have been doing this, people are traveling, people have been following, we've been having a beautiful time, a high time, there's nothing that shows whether or not people are there. So we can hear in the recordings, it doesn't sound like a lot of people. And people who are traveling, they're reporting that it's not a lot of people. And they're also reporting that not a lot of people are supportive still of what has been going on in the organizations. And uh, several people have said that they're traveling because they want to see what you're going to say firsthand. They don't want to hear it from anybody else. They want to be there when you say certain things firsthand, especially about these videos or um, about the transparency issues with the documents that's now also been shown to the members around the organization. People want to know what in the world is going on. So now we don't have those crowds. We're looking at floors now, whereas before you couldn't see the floor. You're standing shoulder to shoulder, but you're now seeing the floor, space in the seats. You can almost sit anywhere. It's just not what it used to be. People seeing through the lies, they're hearing the lies coming from him and coming from so-called uh, holy men on the general council. Mm-mm, mm-mm. So at this point in time, it may not even be an issue with crowds anymore. But thank you for pointing that out, Darlene. Golden Boy laughing. Golden Boy, if you think about it, right? Members are like unto employees working for a large conglomerate. Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's what it seems like. That's what, even what it sounds like. Um, Constantly threatening the people from the airplane um, that he's maybe on coming back from LA or going to LA. Um, Pastors, I need to have this, I need to have that, or else. Chairmans, you better make sure of this or that, or else. Even traveling to Midwest tour, you know, when I arrive, when I get here, when I get there. I mean, just sending word. But for the most part, they're threats. Yet he doesn't want to be held accountable. It's the hypocrisy. Um, Members are like employees working for a conglomerate. Golden Boy says disguised as a 501c3, and the members are blind to it. Just willing workers, indoctrinated as all get out. A lot of us were. Today, thankfully, many people have pulled away. Many people have stepped back. And now, again, they're just watching and waiting, interested in what's going to become, while all these people all over the place see through it now. They just see through it. Um, Miss Smith's group of demon monsters. Unfortunately, there is a lot of possession in here. Many members may not be aware, but also, also um, with the councilmen, especially the chairmans, especially the district chairmans, with the things behind closed doors. We put some recordings in some of the video, and there's been some members who have met with some of the chairmans one-on-one and recorded them. These are not holy men. These men are carriers of something that's allowing them to do all this wrong and apparently not have a conscience about it. It sounds like people being funny, but the reality is it's sad, but true. These men are carrying spirits. And instead of going around to heal the sick or cast out spirits from the possessed, they're the ones who's possessed and they're the ones who's sick. And we're seeing it. Sickness all over the place, disease all over the place, and horrible living and lifestyles all over the place with this group of men. So it's not poking fun. It is what it is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. John Sales says, is this legal and in line with nonprofit standards? We talked about this earlier. To answer again, no, none of this is legal. None of it. But the outside can't do anything until they come in and find out that it is going on. So again, we're just waiting. John says he wants the money for himself. Yes, absolutely. All of it. No services at all in the area. No, what people might be given anywhere else, come to me. All the pastors, you have your services on the same night. So that on those other nights, if I pop up, the money come to me. All these rules and articles for offerings shows how important money is to the leaders. Shake my head. And that's the point I'm getting at right there. The members don't understand that a lot of these things are being written for these bishops to get paid, to have money, an influx of money coming into the organization. And now when he's even present and available, when he's in services, when he's coming, when he's sitting there, when he's in attendance, all of these things that people did not know are not legal. Just been sitting there soaking it up, right? This is why we talked about last night with the maids. And here you have one young lady singing, I worship you, I adore you, I love you. All of this looks bad in the eyes of the regulating agencies because you're being adored. You're being lifted up. What does this have to do with a 501c3? It does not have anything to do with a 501c3. A nonprofit is not established for the personal benefit of one person. So, people, get ready. Thank you, John Sales. Peace abide. As wouldn't the covenant had only applied to members in 2009 and before, which would mean many present members are not under the covenant. Typically, it would. The problem is the covenant, remember I said, was twofold. In fact, let me get it again. The covenant is twofold. And let me let you read it with me. Okay. Okay, read that last sentence. The commitment. This commitment is to, I'm going to let you read it silently. I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm going to read certain words out loud. This commitment is to, nope, our faith, its leader, Mr. Bailey. Y'all see how I read it? This commitment is to our faith and its leader, Mr. Bailey, and to edify the congregation of this said auxiliary. This commitment is to the faith, the organization, and Mr. Bailey, the bishop, or whoever is the bishop. So the covenant is going to be applied by law to the organization and to its bishop. And read another part. Look at this. We vow to labor selflessly to fulfill the purpose of this organization. We vow to labor selflessly to fulfill the purpose of the organization and here right up underneath of it. We vow to remain steadfast and unwavering to what? The Constitution, comma, bylaws, comma, and regulations of the United House of Prayer for All People. So the commitment is to the bishop, the organization, and the rules. So now it says, so y'all can see it. The Constitution, bylaws, and regulations. So since it says Constitution, that means anything going forward, because the Constitution is being constantly revised. Because you're committed to the bishop, well, the Constitution says that Mr. Bailey has tenure of his natural life. So now, today, that auxiliary covenant says, today, I'm going to commit my future. I'm entering into a commitment for my future to do X, Y, Z. This is why I'm saying that this is some low down, dirty work. These councilmen, the staff of the bishops have been taking advantage of all the members of the organization. Whilst Miss Madison sits back, not saying anything, but she has a huge hand in all of this deception. It will only get fixed if the members go to the General Assembly and clear house. That's the only way to get fixed. Because I can tell you, nope. Do what they say do. Do what they say do. Do what they say do. The problem is the things that they're saying, it looks like it's nothing but illegal activity. And when the authorities confirmed that, it's going to be bad. So, anyway, with that auxiliary covenant, because the bishop is going to be there for his natural life, the people just said, well, I'm supporting him and the Constitution. So even if the bishop for his natural life, if he were to be there for another 30 years and he revised the Constitution 5 more times, well, the covenant says, I'm committing myself to him, to the organization, and the Constitution. That's the dirty work. I don't know who came up with that language. I'm certain it probably was Mickey or the judge, if not another lawyer, because that's underhanded, that's dirty, that's crooked. And the people don't know what's being done while they're signing their name. It's just like signing a user agreement. Most people don't read the small print. How many people have gotten a new cell phone or a new cable service or something online, and there's a user agreement, right? Lease. You read all the small print? Most people never read small print, and that's where they get you, because you don't know what in the world you're agreeing to if you don't read the small print. They know that the member's not reading this. They know that they're not understanding it, and that's where they got you. The whole organization, we all been got. Me included. Why am I saying that? Because had I read my credential, as soon as I got it back from Mr. Monroe, who had lied to my pastor and myself over and over and over, had I read it as soon as I got it, I would have known that the council never stamped it. I would have called Cunningham. Yo, what are you doing? But I didn't know. He called me instead to feel me out. I said nothing about it on the phone. So now he goes back and he go ahead and do what he got to do. Remember, he's the General Assembly secretary. So he called me before the General Assembly about a month. Why? I didn't understand until I thought about it. Oh, snap. You were going over the delegate list and you were trying to determine whether or not you should add my name or not. When I got to the door, I showed my name, my ID. My name wasn't on the list. Mr. Cunningham didn't even put it on there. And that's why when I walked in the door, he said, what are you doing in? What's he doing in here? What's he doing in here? When I got to the front, how'd you get in here? What do you mean how I got in here? I'm supposed to be. You're not supposed to be here. I gave him my ID. I showed him my letter. They penciled my name in, which is what you're supposed to do when there's an error. And it ate him up. He turned red as a beet. He couldn't even see his own anger. And I'm looking at him and I'm about to blow up. But I had to keep my composure because I know that all these members in here don't have a clue as to what's going on right now. They don't know that the General Assembly Secretary is setting up one of the elders with the help of the council. So we can still get out of this because everybody didn't sign that covenant. Even if the members did take it to court, it would be difficult because it's a covenant. It's possible, but it's difficult. However, there's some people who didn't sign the covenant. And the new members coming in today, they can be absorbed into the covenant by joining these clubs and auxiliaries that are already covenanted. So when you have pastors telling members, you need to get a club, you need to get a club, or members just not on the club. This is why Mr. Cunningham is talking about if you're not on an auxiliary, if you don't have a responsibility, you don't have a cross. That's why he's saying all this stuff, to guilt the members who's still in there listening, to guilt them into getting on an auxiliary so that you will be under a covenant and you will be legally bound to accept any and all the things that the bishops do without being able to question them. That's why the end of this Constitution has this section in it that says this Constitution is a covenant. You see it right here. Covenant. This covenant is now enforceable. And this law can be automatically modified. Right here. It shall be deemed automatically modified. That means the people don't even have to have a meeting for this Constitution to be changed, because the people have covenanted themselves. And Mr. Cunningham knows, just dirty. Mr. Murray knows. Miss Mickey Bailey knows. Mr. Jimmy Jones, he not quite saying a whole lot. He very, very quiet. Guilty conscience eating him up. All these other councilmen, very, very quiet. Telling you people, that General Assembly waiting. Bishop never on time. Think about it. Members like employees. Group of demon monsters, legal in mind point, not free will, want the money for himself. All these rules and articles for offerings. Wouldn't the covenant have been applied to members? Okay. And thank you for that comment. Peace abide. Golden Boy says, thank you also for breaking down my comments, because you almost have to laugh to keep from crying. Yeah. It's pretty horrible. And we're grateful for all of your comments as well, and all of you others who comment, because there's people who have some of the same questions, but they don't know what's going on. And there's a lot of people who don't really believe the things that I'm saying is actual. They're actually doing this stuff. So that's why I have a bunch of paperwork to back it up. Here's one question. How many times has Mr. Cunningham come forward to verify anything that he said? He's not one time responding. They're terrified of what's coming. And so I'm going to continue coming back to open up the rest of this as we get ready to go into the Are You Aware? The Are You Aware is such a, anyway, you're welcome, Golden Boy. He's next is retracted. Brother Lewis, Golden Boy, I appreciate you. Best commentator, no cap. I can come off a little strong. No, it's all good. It's all good. We know that people are upset. We know that people are offended by a lot of this stuff, as you should be, because they shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. Right? But they have been. They've been lying to everyone. They've been manipulating everyone. They've been deceiving everyone. This is some low down dirty work. To get the members of the House of Prayer and for Mr. Bailey to write a letter to the organization to hype up the parade and Memorial Day weekend, the honor of these men, while he knows that it's in conjunction with this auxiliary covenant, so that they can use it as a testimony behind the members' backs to enforce illegal laws on the people, just so they can do whatever they want to with the money and the property of the House of Prayer. This is dirty work. B. Mefdeman, back in Mr. McCullough's era, you couldn't see the floor. Everybody stood shoulder to shoulder. That was indeed like a Michael Jackson's kind. Absolutely. Mr. McCullough, Mr. Madison, you had to squeeze. I remember grabbing people's shoulder and holding them still as I squeezed by them because I didn't want to give people the impression that I'm up to something. So I would do that. I would dip down and bend so I would not rub against people as I passed through. That's how tight it was. And forget, you know, trying to leave and go to the restroom and come back. Uh-uh. But yet, even though it was shoulder to shoulder, they would still have a love march. They would still have a love march. They're not passing up the money. But yeah, all of that said, here we are. Uh, so we're grateful to be able to share with you all what's going on so that y'all will know what's going on, so that we will be able to prepare better for this upcoming General Assembly. Um, and indeed, B. Meverderman, it was just that jam packed. In the meantime, peace abide. Shake my head. The covenant is illegal. Yes, it is, but it's not. Um, it's illegal what they did and how they did it. But to use the covenant now, it's not. Um, the people were not aware. So the saving grace is that they weren't aware of what they were doing. But that's what makes it even harder because the instructions was to read it out loud, to have the clubs read it in their meetings, to have it posted on the wall so that Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Bailey, all these people would be able to say, nope, we had it up so everybody could read it. Everybody could read it. So with all of that in mind, um, they got over on the people and they planned it. That's what makes this so bad. The bishop, the council, and others plotted and planned time and time and time again how to put together different programs to make it look like something that it's not, to use that program that the people think is one thing that it's not, to use it for something else to enforce in a courtroom so that they can take advantage of the people of the house of prayer. This is some dirty, 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 dirty work. And this is why I speak as comfortably and as boldly as I do, because we now, the paperwork looks so strongly unfavorable pertaining to these people, the bishops and the council. And it's just a matter of time before people look at it and confirm my suspicions. I have to say it that way. But when you all hear what else we've been uncovering, then you will understand why Miss Madison, Mr. Cunningham, these councilmen, and also Mr. Murray, you'll understand why they're terrified and why they're traveling around right now. He has to be in front of people saying stuff. Got to try to keep them, got to hold on to them. This is what we have. And if we let this go, then the whole thing gonna go down and we are in some trouble. Not like Mr. Commodore trouble. Mr. Commodore, the trouble you talking about is gonna be 1,000 times worse because you're in the hand of the Most High, Yah, the true, the creator. And to deny his son and choose Mr. Cunningham over the one who laid down his life? So thank you, Peace Abide. Yes, all those books are messy and illegal, just grimy. So yeah, It's bad. Golden Boy says strong. I thought that was intentional. uh, Covenant is sneaky, deceptive, and nefarious. Yes, it is. Um, Absolutely, it is. R. Smith says, "Hey, R. Smith, do you recall Bailey had the people pledge their loyalty to him? I recall in Miami they stopped service to take an oath to him." See, I keep saying we have members who can confirm a lot of this information. And for me to hear a bishop have the members pledge their loyalty to him, what type of man who claims to be sent by God, by his son, is going to have people pledge their loyalty to him? And Mr. Cunningham following suit. Again, when it comes to the word of Yahuwah and the doctrine of Yahusha, the Father and the Son, when it comes to God, Jesus, uh, Yeshua or Yahweh, um, Yeshua, Joshua, when it comes to the Creator and the one who laid down his life, their word is pure. It's all about salvation. And the Son did everything to glorify his Father. And anybody who comes in his name, you're supposed to do everything to glorify him and his Father, not to glorify self. That's what got Satan kicked out of heaven, to go around and see what angels he can get to pledge their allegiance to him. Ah, I in Texas, there's a few trips that we didn't take. So unfortunately, this is my first time hearing about that, to pledge their loyalty to him. Ooh, that was something new in the house of prayer. I remember I got up and immediately exited the building until that was over. Right. I would have done the same thing. We had these covenant vow return. I didn't take part in that. I wasn't going to do that. No, the word tells us you don't do this. And you're supposed to be a representative of what? Uh-uh. So people, let us maintain, let us be diligent, let us watch, let us lean on the word, not on men, on the word. Let us continue paying attention to what's being done and what's being said. All this stuff about Mr. Cunningham, when you see me, you see Jesus. When you feel me, you feel Jesus. When you hear me, you hear Jesus. When you follow me, you follow in Jesus. To be saying all this nonsense, just nonsense. Ah, um, R. Smith says, you'd think it was the return program. Well, this is what I showed last night. If you pull the video up from last night, number 17, you'll see that we went through the auxiliary um, bylaws, and that was a part of that. So you may be right, because he spanned it out across 10 years. And it was this huge undertaking to get the people to recommit. That's where the COR, Children of Return, come in, right? And Mr. Cunningham has got Mr. Commodore's son. You're not hearing too much from him now after we talked about it. But the Children of Return, what is that about? It's all a money grab to get the children invested, to travel around and turn spinners and have party favors, all that stuff, marching in the love march, got hats, and Mr. Cunningham soaking it up, like he said in Colombia. It's my party. This has nothing to do with people. We're going to continue showing y'all what's going on behind the scenes and exposing these false prophets, these fake men, these deceivers, manipulators who's twisting the word for personal gain, for self-interests, and deceiving all of these people so that they can rob and steal and take. But more importantly, they're doing what they're doing now to obstruct justice. They don't want you all to know what they've been doing behind closed doors now that they got caught. So they're doing everything they can to keep running from us so that we cannot come and openly accuse them before the members of the organization. So sit tight, sit back, keep watching, and stay tuned because there's much more to come. B. Mevderman says, thank you, Pastor. We'll stand with you. Thank you. Our Father has it. Sabrina says, these are demons. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I'm thankful I have a conscience. Carry on. Absolutely. We're grateful that our mind is on him. Golden Boy, I thought Bailey Children of Return campaign was to get people like me to get back on the bandwagon. It was to sell the idea to return in here, to get back in line with the laws, the rules, the regulations. Come to find out, even me, I didn't know at the time. I didn't know that this was all a scam. I didn't know that this was all rigged. I didn't know that the rules, regulations were just nothing more than a bunch of orders given by these bishops. I didn't know. So all of these things that I'm bringing to your attention now is to make you aware of the fact that they sit back and they conjure up methods of how to deceive the members of the organization. The problem is now the cat's out the bag. And this is why I've been saying, Mr. Cunningham, the jig is up. So whoever you're going to throw out there on the floor now, coach, try to get another player to throw up a franchise play. Let's see what they have, and we'll just go from there. In the meantime, we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. Y'all might want to call a timeout, maybe go back to the locker room and try to get your game plan together again. Because right now, y'all way behind on the scoreboard. And we're looking ahead at that General Assembly. So we'll see what our Father has in store. And we'll see what we can bring to the table in the second half of this game. In the meantime, everyone, we thank you for your time. I went way over my time. We want to hope that you all have a beautiful night, a wonderful night. We hope that our Father wakes us up if it's his will and go before us throughout the day. And with all that said, we'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful night.